The Square Ball Podcast.
Right, we're ready to revisit our pre-season predictions. Welcome along to the show. It's Dan here with Michael and with Rob. Did Chris not make his predictions at the start of the season?
He didn't.
No.
Unless he did them somewhere else. I know the Dean's ones, we'd merged them into to this show because we just stuck them on at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think Chris committed to anything.
Coward.
Quick one just to say, NordVPN.
Great bunch of lads.
Yeah. Can you expand upon that?
I tell you what, why they're a great bunch of lads.
Yeah.
Because you can move your location to anywhere in the world, pretty much. So if you want
virtual location.
your virtual location, yeah, they don't do teleporting.
No.
But if you wanted to watch geolocked content somewhere, club TV channels, that sort of stuff,
Yeah,
BBC iPlayer.
Don't get stung for cookies being put on your computer when you're booking stuff. You're a stickler for that, aren't you?
Indeed.
When you're on Google Street View, when you pretend you're on holiday, do you change your location to Monaco or whatever?
I do it like a local. I'll go connect to Buenos Aires, then I'll go and have a little mooch around. It just feels so much more authentic.
It's the authentic experience.
The chance to watch events that you might not be able to otherwise watch, we can say, from a geographical perspective. For example, if you went to buy your football club's streaming service and you're not allowed to buy it in the UK, you could be somewhere else to do that, couldn't you?
You could.
Right, there's that. NordVPN.com/TSB. There is a link in the episode description down below, pointing downwards. NordVPN.com/TSB. Right, we're revisiting our pre-season predictions here.
Ahead of a pivotal game.
Yeah, we should say we actually recorded this ahead of the weekend, so we don't know what's happened with the... Is it Hull Sheffield United?
Sheffield United against Hull is Friday night, and then Sunderland played Plymouth on Saturday.
Okay.
So they've both won, which is a shame.
Joffy's hat-trick, though. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Shame about the 4 goals they conceded.
Yes, so we're going to look back, because we should have done this about halfway, but we didn't quite ever get round to it. But close enough, going into the biggest game of the season, which it undoubtedly is.
Yeah, definitely.
So what did we say then? First things first, Jorginho Ruta about to take the number 10 shirt. Was that me who was guilty of talking about that?
We didn't have squad numbers at the point we recorded pre-season predictions, so there was some speculation it was going to be Georgie, and we were like, yeah, that'd be quite nice.
It's very exciting. Had he scored that goal against, was it Valencia?
Yeah.
It's like the best player in the world. We're going to piss this.
I thought we had a long and happy future together, because I just giggled when he scored that, because it's so good. And then look what happened. The bad thing happened. But we found ourselves somebody new to love. And Rob, you were requesting, I'm fairly sure, a new central midfielder in this show.
Absolutely. And Ao Tanaka rocked up. Admittedly, I didn't expect him to be as good as this. I don't think anyone did they?
No, not at all.
People were pretending if they were expecting it.
Yeah, he's exceeded our expectations, hasn't he?
And Michael, you went on record talking about the newly promoted teams, which would be Oxford. Who else came up? Plymouth?
Derby and Portsmouth.
Right.
Plymouth was the
They were already here, weren't they? Yeah. Hanging around, stinking the place out. Building on last year's success with Wayne Rooney.
Yes, very much so.
I mean, we could have all predicted that, couldn't we?
Yeah, if we'd have said, will Wayne Rooney see out the season, I think it's fair to say we'd have all said no.
Right. What did you think of the Portsmouth game? What was the prediction that we made?
We all thought we'd win.
Yep.
You said we'd win unless something bad happened.
I did.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, they scored 3 goals.
Something bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an easy prediction in some respects.
Jayden Bogle's tackle in the penalty area was a bad thing, really.
Yeah. But Rob, you said pre-game you'd be looking at odds of 5-0, and they just weren't quite long enough for you to commit to it.
I mean, we've been over this before, but never listen to my betting tips. There's a reason I very rarely gamble. Although we could have won that 5-0 if we just hadn't conceded 3 goals and scored another 2.
I rightly predicted if we can get a goal in the first half hour, it'll take the stress out of it. We did get the goal in the first half hour, and then they unfortunately got some too. So that none of that really went as we were expecting.
Farker made it clear as well in, was it in the interview before this, I suppose, going into it at the start of the season, they wanted a full-back, a central midfielder, and a replacement for Somerville. What did we get? Did we get them all?
We were just talking about this. We sort of did. I thought we'd got 2 out of 3, but then Rob just reminded me that Isaac Schmidt exists. And I was
we did sign a fullback. We just haven't needed him, I guess. I mean, Sam Byram has probably stayed fitter than we all expected.
For now.
Yeah. Touch wood, yeah.
But yeah, we got a centre mid, the best centre midfielder in the world, arguably. And then we got Ramazani, didn't we?
And Solomon?
And Solomon, yeah, in for Somerville. So
did quite a lot.
Did quite a lot. What are we moaning for?
Onto the that's the preamble done. Onto the sort of meat of the predictions. And where would we finish was the first one. And we all said champions. You said top 2, Michael, but you were swayed into champions because we called you a negative Nancy.
You swept me along, and I was like, yeah, go on then. Yeah, of course we're going to win.
So all 4 of us said champions. Do you still stand by that?
Yeah.
Just
top 2.
Oh, I do.
We are top.
I confidently stand by it.
Okay.
Because it's consequence free if it don't happen. Really.
Yeah,
People
that's
say
true.
you're an idiot, and I'll go, yeah, I am.
We all knew that. It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's not the gotcha people think, is it? You got that wrong, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did get loads of stuff wrong.
Why did you get it wrong? Just because that's what I thought. And
I said a thing and it didn't happen.
And then it was wrong. So what are you going to do?
Well, points total as well was the next one. Have we swept past that too quickly and confidently? Champions? Do we need to analyse that actually before we get into points total?
I guess the points total thing will be tied in with the way the season has panned out.
I think the points total at the minute is probably higher than I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
I didn't see Sheffield United, Sunderland, Burnley, etc. kind of keeping pace. Well, I just didn't think the pace would be this high set at the top of the league.
You just want someone to fall away that's not us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've always felt we were probably going to be the best team in the division. I still think we are. I like you, didn't quite count on everybody else being as relentless with it. But they are. What that'll translate into, I don't know. So my prediction of champions is just based on blind hope, really.
And the fact we're top.
And all the underlying stats. I mean,
Jesse Marsh over here.
I know. But we are XG against.
I'm stressed.
Chances created, shots, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We're scoring the most goals as well, which is generally speaking the hardest thing to do. A goal was a point. You kept saying one season, then we went down. So that was good. But yeah.
Never going to live that down, am I?
It's your own fault. But yeah, overall, I think things are going pretty well. And as discussed at length on multiple occasions, we should have more points than we have, which hopefully will right itself in the second half of the season rather than leave us thinking, if only we got those points, we now have a cushion.
We should be in the high 60s by rights. I mean, football does happen, and it has a way of doing this, doesn't it? You know, sometimes you do concede a late equaliser. But I think we worked out, I've got additional 9 points we should have had by now.
I mean, is that just every season, though? You're always going to look back and go, if we'd have scored that penalty, if we hadn't done that, we'd have more points. It's like, well, yeah, that is just how football works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Football has a way of aligning itself with history as well, which is why I predicted 93 points is what we would finish on, same as Bielsa. But we're actually tracking ahead of the Bielsa season by a fair distance now, aren't we? I think, is it 6 or 7 points?
Which feels weird.
I don't know. We do just feel in control of everything, I guess. But there is just that, being a Leeds fan, it doesn't feel that way because you just don't trust them, which is maybe unfair.
Yeah, because if we do win this, in the end, we'll look back on it and say, yeah, we were always going to win it because we were an outlier, like metrics wise. And then hopefully we will build a points lead towards the end. Of course we will. We should have been confident about that. But yeah, when you're living in it.
Well, it's like the Bielsa season, isn't it? Where it was so fraught, so stressful towards the end. And then you win the final game. You go, we've won this by 10 points. We've absolutely romped it. But it never felt like that until the very end.
Well, it's interesting looking at your points total predictions because you all went lower than I did, which from the position that we're in now, for it to happen, for you to be right on these predictions, would indicate some bad stuff happening in the second half of the season. Something nobody needs to see.
Well, I did say if we're not going to finish top 2, let's finish 15th. So that would be a bad end to the season if that was to happen. I stand by that.
Right.
If we are going to dick around with the playoffs, let's just not.
Right. Fair enough. Both you and Dean went for 87 points.
Yeah, I just didn't think it would be as... Like last season felt like such an outlier to have so many teams having so many points. But typical Leeds United, seems like we're heading that way again.
What are we on, 59 now?
The way it's tracking, 87 points would have us finishing 5th.
Right.
Don't do that.
Because of the... Oh, no, sorry. I'm 4th. I'm including us in the... I'm looking down the list. We're in that list at the moment.
Gotcha.
We will be 4th, which, 4th, 5th, whatever. It's the playoffs, is what I'm saying. Yeah. On current points per game, taking out, even allowing Sheffield's points deduction, we're on 97. They will end on 95. Burnley 92. Sunderland 89.
Right.
It's pretty close and it's pretty high.
I do expect one of them, not us, to drop off. Somebody at some point has to. I can't see 4 teams maintaining this pace towards the end.
What happened last year?
We fell off.
Well,
We finished on 90 points.
Yeah, but we still fell off a bit.
But we caught up massively. It was actually like Leicester and Ipswich, considering the pace they set in the first half of the season. They did drop off over the second half. Certainly Ipswich did. But we just left ourselves too much to do, didn't we?
You said 90 points, Michael.
Which might see us squeak in still, but it's feeling more like 95 is probably the mark at the moment. So what would we take now?
100.
I think we should aim for 100. I really do. That would give me a degree of comfort thinking that would be the outcome.
Would you take 99?
Yes.
98?
Yeah.
97?
Well, we're tracking for 90. We're tracking for just short of 97 at the minute.
I'm wondering at what point you're going to go, ooh, no.
Well, I think if you get to 90, then it's going to be tight.
Yeah.
Given
very, very, very tight.
Yeah, given the form. I think. Yeah.
And Sunderland and Sheffield United both seem to be having. Well, they've both had strong starts to January, haven't they?
We'll see
in terms of transfers and results.
Yes. Player of the year. Who did you go for?
There's a lot of shouts for Rutter, wasn't there?
Yeah, me and Rob both went for Georgie.
Very early in the season to have your heart broken by a Leeds United transfer like that, isn't it?
Are we a better team without him? We discussed this earlier in the season. I think we might be. I love Georgie with all my heart, and it's still actually genuinely. I thought I'd got over this point in life. I thought I was too long in the tooth for it. It still hurts seeing him now pop up and being happy. So I've had to shut him out, like blocking the X's on all the social channels.
But I don't know. I think we'd be better with him.
Yeah, I mean, Farkas still talking about wanting a number 10 to replace him. We just don't have that guy. Like his passing was, I know shooting was terrible, but his passing was amazing. Like the amount of times that we would say, we need a Pablo, but then Rutter would just do half a dozen unbelievable like through balls.
Yeah,
like he was, and that is what we lack in this team as well.
The way he could hit a pass through a very small gap was delightful at points. And they almost even his passes,
talking about him?
Even his passes often looked a bit mishit, but then it'd be absolutely inch perfect as it just fell on someone's foot.
Well, he's not going to be our player of the year, so move on and grow up.
No, he's not.
Grow up.
He's not. And I mean, I think if he'd been here, it wasn't a bad shout.
Of course.
It was.
I would go so far as to say it was a lazy shout on your part.
Yeah, possibly. Whereas you went for Joe Rodon. Done.
Joe Rodon / Dan James. And to be fair, Dan James ain't a bad shout, I don't think.
No.
Which we'll come on to the sort of goals and the goal contributions in a bit, which actually, I suppose, is related to the discussion about Rutter, because one of the requirements, I think it was you, Michael, who said if he can get another 5 or 6 goals.
Yeah.
Then.
Which he has done, but for Brighton.
Yeah.
Has he? Has he scored that many?
He's scored a few now, hasn't he?
He's got a few.
Yeah.
And the one against Scum shouldn't count because it was just dropped at his feet.
Yeah. Until the last 2 games, I was worried about my outside bet of Jayden Bogle. But if he carries on, as he has done recently, be a hell of an end to the season.
He's on an upward curve.
He did get the official club man of the match, didn't he? I think from the Norwich game. I'm pretty sure I saw them tweet about that.
I saw that they'd done like a highlights package on him, so he must have done well.
Dean said Pascal Strauch would be our player of the season. We will also get 6 goals from Joe Rothwell corners. Almost actually went for Rothwell and then went for Gruev instead.
Yeah, so we had like an obvious one and then a bit of an outside bet each.
Yeah,
so yeah, Gruever's an outsider and Pascal both maybe a bit hampered by injuries. And Pascal, he's got 1 from a Joe Rothwell corner, hasn't he?
The Sheffield United game, was it?
Yes.
I think have we scored 1 more since then? I don't know. It's still not many.
Not from Pascal though, was it?
Young player of the year, we all went for.
Well, actually, I need to touch on because my outside bet for player of the year was Firpo. And I made a good prediction in this.
Yep.
Because I said he has a good song that will keep him in people's minds, and they will think I enjoyed singing that when he scored at Sunderland. And they would have done.
That's what everyone thinks back to that Sunderland game.
Exactly, it would have been everyone's abiding memory of that Sunderland game. So Melio's probably cost Firpo a chance here.
Look at Nostradamus over here.
That's why he stormed down the tunnel at full time. He's fucking fuming.
Yeah,
He'd heard your prediction.
He was like, it was written, it was destiny, and now he's done that.
It's unwritten, like Natasha Bedingfield. Young player of the year, we also said Matteo Joseph, which probably is the likeliest outcome still.
Yeah, do we have any other young player candidates?
No, Brendan looks young, but he's like 24. It's with them because I've been thinking this recently in the way that we kind of talk about Willie Gnonto. He's essentially the exact same age as Matteo Joseph. There's about 6 weeks or something between them when I looked at the birthdays.
But you consider Matteo Joseph to be like a youth player, don't you?
And Willie Gnonto is a
grown-up man.
He's a grizzled championship bastard. Not quite, but we expect more from him, don't we? Just because he's been around for so long and he's played so many games for us and for other teams. So it could be Willie Gnonto, but I feel like he would be excluded on the basis that he's sort of a senior player.
It's more like rookie of the year, isn't it? It does feel a bit like Joseph, as things stand, would kind of be getting it by default. I know that's harsh, but there's just no one else, is there? We can't give it to Charlie Crew.
You ever won anything by default?
This job.
You're here, I suppose.
Do you want to do it, Rob?
Suppose.
Yeah, actually taking over Square Ball as a whole was done by default, really.
Yeah.
As a magazine, it was just volunteered to do it off a forum.
Yeah.
Many years ago, and then here we are.
All these years
15
later.
15 years on, just like,
Grizzled championship bastards.
Very, very much so.
Very much so. The discussion around Matteo Joseph, I suppose, then feeds straight into the top scorer debate, and my prediction that he would get somewhere between 25 and 30, and I could see him scoring an absolute boatload.
At one point, you said 40.
Yeah, I think I might have just been silly.
Yeah, I think so too.
But as it stands, he's got 2. Joel Pirot is the top scorer with 10. You've got Brendy and Dan James with 7. Solomon's got 5, then Largy and Willie with 4. So the spread of goals has actually been far greater than I anticipated, which is what I was getting at when I was asking about Georgie, actually.
Yeah. And I think we did have a little discussion of Brendan, actually, of what he needed to do, because obviously no one was expecting him to be our number 10 this year because we had Georgie. So we were like, what do we want from him? And I was like, if he can just make some useful contributions from the bench, that'll probably be enough that everyone's fine with it. And first game, he did. Came on, missed one, scored one. But then, he's our number 10 now. So we've just got to live with him.
I mean, I was going to say in many ways, and we're ahead of any transfer activity towards the end of January, he's almost the first name on the team sheet.
Pretty much is, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is where I do have a bit of sympathy for Aronson, as much as he frustrates me. But in the summer, he was not meant to be our number 10. He was coming on as a winger. And then even after we sold Georgie Rutter, Farker turned to Pirot to do that first. And he was like, fuck that. Brendan, it's your gig. But yeah, I mean, his goal contributions as well, like, he has scored probably more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
He's not that far behind Pirot. I'm going to be furious if he ends the season top scorer.
If he turned up as a new signing and we hadn't paid 25 million quid for him, we'd probably be happy enough with it. If we'd paid, 6 million quid for him in summer, and this was all we'd seen, and he hadn't done the leaving thing, I think we'd all be talking about him having a pretty decent season. He's not, as yet, just booted someone and got sent off, which is what you suggested he should do, Dan.
Did I?
Yeah, just come on and absolutely wipe someone out to get back on side.
There's still time.
There is still time, hopefully.
For him.
Not like in the 3rd minute of a playoff final or something.
No. There won't be a playoff final this year.
Okay.
We're going out in the semis.
Okay. That's good. That's a relief, actually.
So top scorer will end up probably about 15 goals. I expected somebody to score a shed load this year. But then, it's not worked out that way, is it?
It's awkward with our strikers, isn't it? Because Joseph and Pirot both have good qualities, but you do get that sense that if we had a really good striker, they probably would score a shed load in this team. But then the striker position, just in modern football in general, is weird about how they're judged on so much more than just sticking the ball in the net. It was when we did the Drigo interview about Tony Yeboah. He was saying so much now they're judged on their all-round game, and actually sometimes you just want a guy to stand between the posts and stick it in the net, which is kind of what you want.
Which
I think Pirot is good at.
Sort of does that, doesn't he? Yeah.
I don't know.
But
there's so little else.
Yeah, so the system needs somebody to be a workhorse up there, doesn't it?
Yeah, Pirot doesn't do it in the traditional way, though, of, as Rob's saying, just standing between the posts, because he drifts outside the box a lot. He's not someone who just stands around the 6-yard line and waits for crosses and for the ball to drop to him, but either getting his head on it first time or after it's ricocheted out, just putting it in. He does tend to be more, I don't know, he's often not the furthest player forward, I suppose is what I'd say with Pirot. Whereas when Joseph plays, he actually does do that. It's just not quite clicked for him. Joseph could still have a really good second half of the season. If Joseph can get another 5 goals now between the end of the season, he'll probably have played a big part in our promotion.
Well, the fact is we're top scorers, and there's a big spread of goals, which I think is to our credit rather than our detriment.
It is very telling, though, that Farker in his most recent presser is still saying a number 10 or a striker. He would love either. Like, we are very dominant in this league, really, but which is mad when we look at this squad and we go, God, I hate the goalkeeper. I hate the number 10. The strikers are rubbish. But and also, you've seen with Joseph as well, like, it was why I was a bit cautious with the pre-season optimism around him because he'd not started the league game. And you sort of seeing, I think, why Barker was maybe a little bit reluctant to throw him in at the end of last season when there was a big clamour for him. Because I did tip Pirro to finish as top scorer, but it was that was a bit of a by default tip as well.
It was a very safe bet just because he does score goals.
That Chelsea game, I was going to say, did a lot of heavy lifting where Joseph's reputation was concerned, I think. Everyone thought it was really, and pre-season.
I was going to say he came into it off the back of a really good pre-season as well.
But that was the kind of thing that went overlooked in pre-season, that Joseph was scoring every game, but so was Pirro. He usually came off the bench and then just did the same.
So just to follow up on what you were saying there, and because people pick up on it, we don't hate the goalkeeper. We don't hate the number 10. We don't hate the striker. I think that they're the lightning rods for all our anxieties. I think it's like, please just do the thing. Get somebody for that. Somebody for that.
At points, people have hated the goalkeeper. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, as a short-term passing thing.
In moments, definitely.
Yeah, but it ebbs and flows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I personally stand by what I said about Meslier, which was I don't think we will ever see a Leeds United fan base that's confident in Meslier ever again. I really don't. But I think we'll be fine until the end of the season with him in goal, equally.
Hopefully.
Were you going to say probably there?
Probably, yeah. I was going to say probably. Then I thought, well,
balled out of it.
I've seen enough. But to go back on the scorers, though, it's sort of a good thing that we've scored so many goals and they are spread. Because if you think about Leeds seasons past, if, for example, Chris Wood had got injured in that season, we'd have been screwed. Or Ross McCormack for a couple of seasons. If he'd have not been in the team, there was nothing.
Somerville last season, to a large extent.
Yeah, I suppose so. Whereas now you feel like there are options and it'll be all right, probably. As long as there's always a goal in Dan James, Ramazani, Nonto. There are options.
Well, you can look at a recent example or an example of a recent opponent for concentration of goals, and that's the fact that Borja Sainz is the division's top scorer on 15 at the minute. So not that far ahead of Pirro. He's out of that Norwich side, and they look pretty toothless all round against us through the week. So what I'm saying is, us good, alternative bad.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Cool. So you said it's Matteo Joseph's moment. It's his moment, was your prediction?
Still might be.
Yep. Maybe he just needs a few little individual moments. Maybe he just needs a crucial goal at some stage.
Yeah.
I think Nonto's looking a bit like that at the minute as well. It's just not quite dropping for him. And you do think, it was like this time last year, wasn't it, where he, well, maybe a little bit before, but he was nearly in tears on the bench after coming off against, was it Plymouth? But then the next game, he just smashed one through a goalkeeper and then he was off and running. It's like, yeah, cool.
He scored 4. Quite a way to go for Dean's prediction, which was 29 for Willie Nonto. But that was, so I guess that prediction was made pre-Solomon, though, coming in and now making that sort of left hand.
Pre-Ramazani as well.
Yeah, that left hand wing position his own. And he's contributed 5 goals as well.
Yeah. He's been our best player for the past month or so, hasn't he? Probably Solomon.
Yeah, it's looking really good.
Right then, on to the headline grabber. We left this one open to interpretation. I predicted that it'd be Joe Rodon, something would go wrong with his brother, it'd be led astray, it'd be abroad, it'd make newspaper headlines. Sort of Harry Maguire light, almost.
Okay.
When's the next international break? March, is it?
It's not till March.
Still time, though.
I want to tweak my prediction, if I may, if you let me, which is it'll still happen in this football calendar year. Not calendar year, sorry, the football calendar. So, i.e., before the end of June. So, if we do go up, it'll be in some way related to the post-promotion celebrations.
You're looking within sort of contract windows then?
Yeah. So, by 30th of June. So, so it's technically within this season.
Okay.
It'll be related to what they do afterwards. It'll be Instagrammed by Sam Rodon.
It was like Paddy Kisnorbo when he was manager in Australia. Was it Melbourne he was in charge of, and they won the league. And he was already on crutches because I think he'd done his Achilles in like a charity game. But then they dropped like an ice cooler on his head. So he had like a big bandage while he was lifting the trophy. And it was like he was just come straight from Leeds United days. So yeah, maybe like Joe Rodon has the trophy dropped on his head or something.
Dean predicts it'll be Junior Firpo. Be interesting to see if he does stand by that. Maybe a perfect hat-trick in the FA Cup.
Yeah, he predicted it in the 3rd round because we did address the fact we don't get beyond the 3rd round. So that's gone wrong. But it was a perfect hat-trick against Crawley. He went very precise.
Yeah.
But then we would draw and losing a replay or penalties. We couldn't remember if there were replays at that stage.
Turns out they're not.
Turns out there were not replays, so a defeat on penalties to Millwall would be a very Leedsy way to go out, actually.
After a Junior Firpo, perfect hat trick.
Yeah, and once again, he'd be stropping off the pitch because he'd be like,
shouting at Meslier.
I'd be fine with it.
not after extra time. I'd rather not have the extra time.
True, but I have to admit, I'd just go, fair enough.
It does ease a lot of fixture congestion, doesn't it?
Because that West Brom fixture gets moved if we get through. And do we want the distraction of like a Premier League team? No, I don't want us to take our eye off the ball.
No, I know what you mean. You need to properly throw it in against Millwall, though, for it not to be in some way damaging to morale.
Put a child in net, put a child in defence, put children in. Play a team of kids.
Okay.
Put Eddie in.
Put Eddie in, yeah, like Firecraft the day after.
And play the kids.
That's what Klopp did that time, didn't he? He all just fucked off on holiday. He was like, yeah, let everyone else do it.
Hugely disrespectful if he did it.
Absolutely, but if we did it, it'd be fair game.
The grinning Red Bull prick. Right. What else did we predict? What did you predict, Rob? Pat Bamford?
Yeah, I mean, he just always grabs a headline, doesn't he? I did suggest either missing a penalty on the final day or getting a move to the MLS. So if he'd have gone to Wrexham, that's basically going to MLS, isn't it?
Would have been close.
There's still time for him to take a penalty.
As it is, he's injured himself once again.
I should have predicted that.
Which is not really a headline grabber, is it, anymore?
No.
More like the LGI than MLS.
It's just a footnote of a press conference, isn't it? Pat Bamford, he's still 3 weeks off. He's had he's missed training this week. He'll miss the Norwich game, but he might be back for whatever. It's just always talking about.
He'll do something, though. He will bleach his hair again or launch another podcast or, I don't know, turn into a YouTuber or something.
Turn into a YouTuber.
Yeah, and I went for Max Verber when he leaves on deadline day, which he did not. But there's now another deadline day.
So he's got himself injured, hasn't
he? Yeah, that is true. Yeah, he's permanently injured.
Just pretending.
The one we all missed out here, the right answer probably is Meslier, isn't it? In this. I'd say he's been probably the main star of the season in a lot of ways. If you're going to look at the Leeds are falling apart narrative, which it's been
the main antagonistic plot line, hasn't it?
Yeah, because most other people have just done well. I suppose Tanaka would be the other one, with the other headline grabber.
Well, there's your headline for the rest of the season. Ilhan Meslier will save a vital penalty at some point. It'd be a fucking miracle.
He's due one. He is due one.
Odds suggest it'll happen eventually.
You would think, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we touched on the Brendy talk a little bit earlier, his potential redemption arc. We ended up somehow, I mean, Dean's not here to defend his scatological pursuits, but he ended up admitting to shitting on the stray in Harrogate.
He did, yeah. I think it's because Brendy and Milana had just got engaged on the stray at that point. So Dean contributed his own delightful tale of things that go on the stray.
Yeah.
The exact same spot.
Right. On which note, should we wrap that up there?
So we're all...
Did he wipe?
I think he did it across the grass like a dog.
Right.
Just legs.
Dragged his...
Yeah, legs to one side, skid himself across.
Okay.
Maybe that's the headline grabber for the rest of the season. Brendan Aronson is going to pay homage to Dean at some point and shit himself on the field.
That'll be the celebration.
Yeah, do it as a goal celebration.
Right.
Proposal into arse drag.
All right, well, we're back. It'll be tonight as this goes out with a post-Burnley match ball. Let's hope it's a happy one.
If we can still be top after Burnley, it's definitely on.
Yeah.
Because this is when Sheffield United have got a reasonable chance of nicking top spot again for a bit. So let's just hope we're there.
That Meslier penalty save.
Great, wasn't it?
From John Joe Shelby as well. Full redemption.
We'll see you soon.
The Square Ball Podcast.